Welcome to True Crime Vault, your new home for chilling and suspenseful crime stories from all corners of the English-speaking world. Ever wonder about the dark secrets hidden in the quiet suburbs of the United States, or the unsolved mysteries lurking in the foggy streets of the United Kingdom? We dive deep into fictional cases that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Our stories will take you from the vast landscapes of Canada and Australia to the beautiful, yet sometimes eerie, scenery of New Zealand. Each episode is a carefully crafted narrative, designed to make you feel like you're right there, piecing together the clues. We explore the minds of fictional detectives and victims, creating a world of suspense and intrigue just for you. Stay tuned to start enjoying the next part of our true crime stories around the globe. Thank you so much for always following and sharing with friends and family. We love you all, our subscribers and followers.
The night of August 11th, 2013, was supposed to be just another summer evening for 14-year-old April Millsap. She was taking her dog, Penny, for a walk along the Macomb Orchard Trail in Armada, Michigan, a path she knew like the back of her hand. It was a routine she'd done countless times, a simple pleasure in her small, tight-knit community. But on this night, that familiar path would lead to an unthinkable end. Around 6:20 p.m., April sent a text message to her boyfriend. It was a message that would later send a chill down everyone's spine. It read, "OMG, I think I'm about to be abducted." He thought she was joking. It was the last time anyone would ever hear from her. Just a short while later, two joggers on the trail noticed something unusual. A dog, a border collie, was trying to get their attention, barking insistently near a wooded area just off the path. It was Penny, April's loyal companion. The joggers followed the anxious dog and made a horrifying discovery. There, partially hidden in a drainage ditch, was the body of April Millsap. The vibrant, happy teenager who had left her home just an hour earlier was gone. Penny, her faithful dog, had stayed by her side, a silent guardian who refused to leave until help arrived. The news shattered the small town of Armada, a place where everyone knew each other, where doors were left unlocked, was suddenly cloaked in fear and grief. How could this happen here? Who would commit such a monstrous act against a child? The community was reeling, but in their shock, they found a fierce determination to find justice for April. The investigation launched immediately, a massive effort involving local police, the Michigan State Police, and the FBI. The first clue was April's phone, found nearby by a couple who had been walking the trail. And then there was her last text message, a chilling premonition of her fate. Investigators worked tirelessly, piecing together the final moments of April's life. They appealed to the public for any information, no matter how small. They asked anyone who was on or near the Macomb Orchard Trail that evening to come forward. The community responded in droves. Tips poured in, and a composite sketch of a person of interest was released based on witness accounts. The sketch depicted a man seen on the trail around the time April was there, a man riding a motorcycle. The image was plastered everywhere, on news channels, in storefronts, and across social media. The whole state was on high alert, searching for the face in the sketch. April's mother, Jennifer, was living every parent's worst nightmare. The call she received that night was one no mother should ever have to answer. The pain was unbearable, a constant, crushing weight. She remembered her daughter as a bright light, an animal lover, a girl who dreamed of being a veterinarian, who was always smiling and making others laugh. The home that was once filled with April's energy was now devastatingly silent. The only comfort was Penny, the dog who had tried so desperately to save her. Jennifer clung to the hope that her daughter's killer would be found, that justice would provide some semblance of closure in the face of such a profound loss. The investigation was a complex puzzle. Eyewitnesses reported seeing April talking to a man on a motorcycle on the trail. One witness even recalled seeing her looking uncomfortable, her body language tense. These accounts became crucial. Using witness descriptions and tips, investigators zeroed in on a suspect, 32-year-old James Van Callis. He lived nearby and owned a motorcycle that matched the descriptions. He had a criminal record, but would he be capable of something so brutal? The police began to build their case, meticulously gathering evidence. The prosecution's case against Van Callis was built on a foundation of digital forensics and eyewitness testimony. Cell phone data was a game changer. Investigators found that Van Callis' phone had been in the same area as April's phone at the time of the murder. But the most damning evidence came from an app on Van Callis' own phone, a fitness app. It had tracked his movements on the night of the murder. The data showed him moving from the trail where April was found into the woods and then running away from the scene at an incredible speed. It was a digital footprint that directly contradicted his claims of being elsewhere. He had essentially recorded his own escape route. Witnesses also came forward to identify Van Callis. One man testified that he saw Van Callis talking to April on the trail, and that he later saw Van Callis emerge from the woods, covered in scratches and mud, looking disheveled. The pieces were falling into place. The prosecution argued that Van Callis had attempted to assault April, and when she fought back, he murdered her in a fit of rage. He then tried to hide her body and flee the scene, unaware that his own phone was documenting his every step. The trial was emotionally grueling for everyone involved, especially for April's family. They had to sit in the courtroom and listen to the horrific details of their daughter's last moments. They had to face the man accused of taking her from them. Throughout the proceedings, Van Callis maintained his innocence, his defense team arguing that the evidence was circumstantial and that he was being wrongfully accused. But the weight of the evidence, the cell phone data, the fitness app, the eyewitness accounts, was overwhelming. In February 2016, after a long and painful trial, the jury delivered its verdict. James Van Callis was found guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and assault with intent to commit sexual penetration. The courtroom was filled with a mix of relief and sorrow. Justice had been served, but it would never bring April back. At his sentencing, Van Callis was given life in prison without the possibility of parole. April's mother, Jennifer, addressed him directly, telling him that he had taken her heart and her soul. Her words echoed the profound and unending grief of a mother who had lost her child to a senseless act of violence. The community of Armada, though forever changed, began the slow process of healing. They created memorials for April, planted trees in her honor, and held annual walks on the trail to remember her. The Macomb Orchard Trail, once a symbol of terror, was reclaimed by the community as a place of remembrance and resilience. They refused to let fear win. April's legacy lives on not in the tragedy of her death, but in the love and strength of the community that rallied around her. Penny, the loyal border collie who never left April's side, became a local hero. She was a living symbol of loyalty and love. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Penny was a source of comfort for April's grieving family, a tangible link to the daughter they had lost. Her story touched hearts across the country, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the bond between a girl and her dog can shine a light. This case serves as a powerful and chilling reminder of the dangers that can lurk in seemingly safe places. It also highlights the incredible power of technology in modern crime solving. Without the data from the cell phones and the fitness app, the case against James Van Callis might have been much harder to prove. It was his own technology that ultimately sealed his fate. April's last text message, "I think I'm about to be abducted," became a haunting prophecy, a digital cry for help that arrived too late. Remembering April Millsap is about more than just remembering a tragedy. It's about remembering a vibrant young girl with a future full of promise. It's about honoring her memory by being vigilant, by looking out for one another, and by never taking our safety for granted. Her story is a heartbreaking lesson in the fragility of life and the evil that humans are capable of. But it is also a story of a community's love, a dog's loyalty, and a relentless pursuit of justice. April Millsap never made it home that night, but she will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more stories that deserve to be told. Thank you for watching this episode of our True Crime Story video. Stay tuned for the next episode of another crime scenes from another angle. They say the woods in Pennsylvania hold secrets, but some are too heavy to carry. In the quiet outskirts of a small Pennsylvania town, a family's life changed forever in a single afternoon. This is the story of a disappearance that froze a community in time and a mystery that has haunted the Keystone State for over 40 years. It's a tale of shattered trust and a betrayal so deep it left a scar on the heart of a town that has never truly healed. Welcome, everyone. Today, we read diving into a case that feels like it's been ripped from the pages of a chilling novel, but it's painfully real for the people who lived it. We're going back to the late 1970s, to a time when kids played outside until the streetlights came on, and neighbors all knew each other's names. In a seemingly idyllic corner of Pennsylvania, the Miller family was living the American dream. John and Sarah Miller, along with their two children, 12-year-old Ethan and 10-year-old Lily, were the picture of happiness. But beneath the surface of this perfect family portrait, a storm was gathering. Our story centers on a warm, late summer day. The air was thick with the scent of cut grass and the promise of a coming autumn. Ethan and Lily were inseparable. They spent their days exploring the dense woods that bordered their backyard, building forts, and creating imaginary worlds. On this particular afternoon, they ventured out as they had 100 times before. But this time, only one of them would come back. As dusk began to settle, Sarah called the kids in for dinner. Ethan emerged from the trees, his face streaked with dirt, but Lily wasn't with him. When Sarah asked where his sister was, Ethan's response was chillingly simple. "I don't know." He said they had been playing hide and seek. He had counted to 100, and when he opened his eyes, she was just gone. Panic set in immediately. John rushed home from work, and the family, along with their neighbors, began a frantic search. Flashlights cut through the deepening darkness, and Lily's name echoed through the woods, but the only answer was silence. The police were called, and a massive search operation was launched. Volunteers from all over the county, even from as far as Scranton, joined the effort. They combed every inch of the forest, every creek bed, every abandoned shed. Dogs were brought in, helicopters circled overhead, but it was as if Lily had vanished into thin air. Days turned into weeks, and the hope that had once burned so brightly began to flicker and fade. The yellow ribbons tied to trees throughout the town started to look worn and tattered, a sad symbol of a community's collective heartbreak. Investigators focused their attention on Ethan. As the last person to see Lily, he was the primary source of information. But his story never changed. He was playing hide and seek. He counted. She disappeared. He seemed genuinely distraught, a little boy lost in a world of grief and confusion. The police questioned him gently at first, then more intensely. They brought in child psychologists, hoping to unlock a memory he might have suppressed. But Ethan's account remained unshakably consistent. To the outside world, he was a grieving brother, a victim just like the rest of his family. But there was someone who saw things differently. The Miller's next-door neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Gable, had been watching the children play from her kitchen window that afternoon. She told police something that sent a shiver down their spines. She hadn't seen a stranger in the woods. She hadn't seen a suspicious car. What she saw was an argument between Ethan and Lily just moments before Lily vanished. She described it as heated, with Ethan's face twisted in anger. When investigators confronted Ethan with this, he denied it, claiming Mrs. Gable must be mistaken. His parents, desperate to protect their remaining child, stood by him, dismissing the neighbor's account as the ramblings of an old woman. The police had no physical evidence, just one boy's word against an elderly neighbor's, so the lead went cold. The Miller family was shattered. The empty seat at their dinner table was a constant, painful reminder of their loss. Sarah fell into a deep depression, while John threw himself into his work, trying to escape the suffocating grief at home. The once loving household became a place of silent sorrow. The bond between parent and child, once so strong, was now strained by unspoken questions and a heavy, shared trauma. The community tried to move on, but the mystery of Lily Miller became a local legend, a ghost story whispered by a new generation of children who were told not to play too deep in the woods. Years rolled by. Ethan grew up, left his small town, and tried to build a new life for himself. He rarely spoke of Lily, and whenever the topic came up, a shadow would cross his face, and he would quickly change the subject. He became a successful architect, a man who built things, perhaps as a way to mend the brokenness inside him. He married, had children of his own, and seemed to have put the tragedy behind him. But the past has a way of catching up. 40 years after Lily's disappearance, a construction crew was clearing a patch of land not far from the old Miller house, preparing to build a new housing development. As a backhoe dug into the earth, it struck something hard. The workers stopped and uncovered a small, rusted metal box. Inside, wrapped in decaying cloth, was a child's locket, and inside the locket was a tiny, faded photograph of Lily Miller. Alongside it was a small, folded piece of paper. It was a note, written in a child's messy handwriting. The words were simple, but their meaning was devastating. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to push her so hard." The discovery reopened the case that had been cold for 4 decades. The note was a bombshell. Forensic experts analyzed the handwriting and confirmed it matched samples from Ethan's old-school notebooks. The police, now armed with tangible evidence, located Ethan, who was now a man in his early 50s. When they showed him the locket and the note, the carefully constructed walls he had built around himself for 40 years came crashing down. In a long, emotional confession, the truth finally came out. That day in the woods, he and Lily had argued. It was a childish fight over a shared secret, something trivial they had promised not to tell their parents. But in the heat of the moment, anger had flared. Lily threatened to tell on him, and in a flash of rage, Ethan pushed her. He hadn't meant to hurt her badly, but she stumbled backward, lost her footing at the edge of a steep, hidden ravine, and fell. He scrambled down to her, but it was too late. She was gone. Panicked and terrified, 12-year-old Ethan didn't know what to do. He knew he would be in terrible trouble. In his child's mind, a terrible accident became a monstrous secret he had to hide. He covered her with leaves and branches, took her locket as a morbid keepsake, and scribbled the apology note, burying it all in the metal box. Then he went home and told the lie that would define the rest of his life. The story he had clung to for 40 years, the game of hide and seek, was a desperate invention to cover a moment of tragic, impulsive violence. He had watched his family crumble, carrying the weight of his secret every single day. He watched his mother fade away and his father become a stranger, all while knowing he was the cause of their unending pain. The betrayal wasn't just against Lily, it was against his parents, his community, and himself. He had let them search for a monster in the woods, when the source of their nightmare was sitting beside them at the dinner table all along. The revelation sent shockwaves through the town. The quiet, grieving brother was revealed to be the keeper of a dark and terrible secret. There was no monster, no kidnapper. There was only a moment of childish anger with catastrophic consequences, followed by a lifetime of deceit. For the surviving family, the truth was a double-edged sword. They finally had an answer, but that answer was more horrific than any scenario they had ever imagined. The disappearance of Lily Miller was solved, but the tragedy was only deepened. It became a story not of a random act of evil, but of a profound and intimate betrayal, a wound inflicted from within the family itself. The empty seat was finally explained, but the void it left could never be filled. This case serves as a heartbreaking reminder of how one impulsive act, one moment of fear, can create ripples of devastation that last a lifetime. It's a story of trauma, guilt, and the crushing weight of a secret too heavy to bear. Thank you for joining me today to explore this incredibly sad and complex story. If you found this case as compelling as I did, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into unforgettable mysteries. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere. In the late 1960s, a shadow fell over Northern California, a phantom who haunted the streets and taunted the police. He called himself the Zodiac. This is the story of America's most elusive serial killer, a man who committed at least 5 brutal murders, claimed dozens more, and then vanished, leaving behind a legacy of terror and a puzzle that has baffled investigators for over half a century. His reign of terror began on a cold December night in 1968. On a lonely Lover's Lane in Benicia, high school students David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen were shot and killed. It was a senseless, brutal act that marked the beginning of a horrific pattern. 7 months later, another couple, Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau, were attacked in a similar fashion in Vallejo. Darlene died, but Mike miraculously survived, giving police their first, albeit fleeting, glimpse of the killer. Just hours after the second attack, a chilling phone call was made to the Vallejo Police Department. A monotone voice calmly confessed, "I wish to report a double murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the public park, you will find the kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." This was the Zodiac's first direct contact, a bold and terrifying announcement of his presence. But he didn't stop at phone calls. A few weeks later, 3 major newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald, each received a letter. Inside were details of the murders only the killer could know, and something far more sinister, a 3-part cryptogram. The author demanded the ciphers be published on the front page, or he would kill again. His message was clear. This was not just about murder, it was a game. A local high school teacher, Donald Hardin, and his wife Betty, cracked the first code. The message was horrifying. It was a rambling, misspelled confession, revealing the killer's motive, collecting slaves for the afterlife. The Zodiac's audacity grew. In September 1969, he struck again, this time in broad daylight at Lake Berryessa. He approached college students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, wearing a bizarre, executioner-style hood. He tied them up before stabbing them repeatedly. Before leaving, he scrawled a message on their car door, listing the dates of his previous attacks. Cecilia died from her injuries, but Brian survived, providing a detailed account of the terrifying ordeal. His description of the killer's calm, methodical demeanor painted a portrait of a monster in complete control. Just 2 weeks later, the Zodiac claimed his final confirmed victim. San Francisco cab driver Paul Stein was shot in the head in the affluent Presidio Heights neighborhood. This murder was different. It was in the heart of the city, under the nose of the police. In a shocking blunder, responding officers briefly saw a man matching the suspect's description walking away from the scene, but let him go, believing they were looking for a black suspect based on an initial incorrect radio dispatch. The killer had slipped through their fingers. Days later, a letter arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle. It contained a piece of Paul Stein's blood-soaked shirt, undeniable proof that the author was the killer. He mocked the police for their incompetence, gloating about how he had walked away unnoticed. The letter also included a new threat to shoot children on a school bus. Panic gripped the Bay Area. Police escorts were assigned to school buses, and a palpable fear hung in the air. The Zodiac was no longer a phantom on a lover's lane. He was a threat to everyone. Over the next few years, the Zodiac continued his campaign of terror through the mail. He sent more letters, more ciphers, and more taunts. He claimed responsibility for as many as 37 murders. He toyed with the media and the police, even calling into a live TV talk show. His letters were filled with threats, astrological symbols, and cryptic clues. One of his most famous ciphers, the 340-character code, remained unsolved for 51 years. It was a testament to his twisted intellect and his desire to maintain control of the narrative, even long after his physical attacks had ceased. The investigation became one of the most extensive and frustrating in American history. Thousands of suspects were considered. The lead investigators, like Dave Toschi of the San Francisco Police, the inspiration for Steve McQueen's character in Bullet, dedicated years of their lives to the case. They chased down countless leads, from disgruntled employees to military veterans with code-breaking skills. But every path led to a dead end. The Zodiac was always one step ahead, a ghost who left clues but never a trail. The most famous suspect was Arthur Lee Allen, a disgraced former schoolteacher with a checkered past. The evidence against him seemed compelling. He was identified by the survivor Mike Mageau years after the attack. He owned a Zodiac brand watch, and he allegedly made incriminating statements to friends. He lived in Vallejo, close to the first crime scene, and was in the vicinity of other attacks. However, his fingerprints and DNA did not match the partial samples collected from the letters, and his handwriting was not a conclusive match. Despite years of intense scrutiny, police could never build a strong enough case to charge him. Allen died in 1992, taking any secrets he might have had to the grave. After a final, cryptic letter in 1974, the Zodiac's correspondence abruptly stopped. He disappeared as suddenly as he had appeared. The question that has haunted generations is, why? Did he die? Was he imprisoned for another crime? Or did he simply decide his game was over, content to watch from the shadows as his legend grew? In 2020, a flicker of hope emerged. A team of amateur codebreakers from around the world, including American software engineer David Orenchak, finally cracked the infamous 340 cipher. The message read, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me." It was another taunt from the past, a chilling echo from a killer who was still playing his game half a century later. But it offered no new clues to his identity. Today, the Zodiac case remains officially open in several jurisdictions. It has become a cultural phenomenon, inspiring books, movies, and a legion of amateur detectives who continue to pore over the evidence, hoping to find the one clue everyone else missed. Private investigative groups, like the Casebreakers, have put forward their own suspects, but none have been officially confirmed. The Zodiac Killer is more than just a cold case. He is a modern myth, a symbol of pure, faceless evil. His true identity is a secret that may be lost to time forever. The Phantom of San Francisco has never been caught, his final riddle unsolved, leaving behind only a name and a question that still echoes. Who was the Zodiac? Thank you for watching. If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned. In the quiet town of New Berlin, Wisconsin, neighbors Christine and Rebecca shared more than just a property line. They shared a wall. Their duplex homes were mirror images, two halves of a whole, but the lives within were anything but harmonious. This is the story of a neighborly dispute that spiraled into a perplexing case, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a community in shock. It all began with typical neighbor squabbles, loud music, parking disputes, the usual friction that can arise when living in close quarters. But between Christine Schultz and Rebecca Zenta, these minor annoyances escalated into a bitter feud. Friends and family of Christine described her as a vibrant, loving mother of two, a woman who worked hard as a nurse and cherished her children. But they also spoke of her growing fear, a fear that was centered on the woman living just a few feet away. Christine had started documenting everything. She kept detailed logs of every perceived slight, every late-night noise, every unsettling encounter. She installed security cameras, hoping to capture proof of the harassment she felt she was enduring. To her, Rebecca wasn't just a nuisance, she was a threat. She told friends that Rebecca seemed obsessed with her, mimicking her hairstyle, her clothes, even her car. The situation grew so tense that Christine began the process of moving, desperate to put distance between her family and the woman next door. On the other side of the wall, Rebecca Zenta painted a very different picture. She saw Christine as the aggressor, a woman who was overly sensitive and confrontational. To her friends, and in her own police reports, Rebecca was the victim, constantly being watched and unfairly blamed. It was a classic case of he said, she said, or in this instance, she said, with the truth seemingly lost somewhere in the space between their two homes. Then, on a cold winter night, the simmering tension boiled over into tragedy. A frantic 911 call brought police to the duplex. They found Christine Schultz inside her home, lifeless. She had been brutally murdered. The scene was chaotic, and investigators were immediately faced with a complex puzzle. Who would want to harm a beloved nurse and mother? The first person they looked at, naturally, was the neighbor with whom she had such a volatile history, Rebecca Zenta. The investigation quickly zeroed in on Rebecca. The history of disputes, the escalating animosity, it all pointed in her direction. Detectives interviewed her, searching for inconsistencies in her story. They searched her home, looking for any physical evidence that might link her to the crime scene. The community held its breath, assuming a swift arrest was imminent. The narrative seemed simple. A neighborly feud had turned deadly. But as investigators dug deeper, the case became anything but simple. Rebecca had an alibi. She claimed she was at a local bar with friends at the time of the murder. Multiple witnesses seemed to corroborate her story, placing her miles away from the crime scene. This threw a major wrench in the prosecution's theory. Could she have hired someone? Or was she somehow able to commit the crime and still establish a solid alibi? The physical evidence was also perplexing. While some forensic clues were found at the scene, there was no definitive smoking gun that tied Rebecca directly to the murder. No DNA, no fingerprints, no murder weapon found in her possession. The prosecution's case was largely circumstantial, built on the foundation of the long-standing feud and the belief that Rebecca's animosity had finally reached its breaking point. Despite the lack of direct physical evidence, prosecutors felt they had enough to move forward. They charged Rebecca Zenta with first-degree intentional homicide. The trial was a media sensation, captivating the state of Wisconsin and beyond. The courtroom became a theater where two starkly different realities were presented. The prosecution portrayed Rebecca as a manipulative, obsessive woman, driven by a deep-seated jealousy of Christine. They brought forth Christine's friends and family who testified about her fear and the constant harassment she endured. They played recordings from Christine's security cameras, showing tense confrontations. They argued that the sheer intensity of Rebecca's hatred for Christine was the motive. They suggested that her alibi was flimsy, that the timeline could have allowed for her to commit the act and still make it to the bar. They painted a picture of a cunning killer who thought she could outsmart the law. In response, Rebecca's defense team launched a powerful counteroffensive. They argued that the police had developed tunnel vision from the very beginning, ignoring other potential suspects and focusing solely on their client. They attacked the lack of physical evidence, emphasizing that the prosecution's case was built on speculation and neighborhood gossip, not on hard facts. They brought their own witnesses to the stand who described Christine as the one who was often confrontational and difficult. And most importantly, they hammered home the alibi. Witness after witness confirmed that Rebecca was with them, socializing, seemingly without a care in the world, at the very moment the state claimed she was committing a brutal murder. The defense posed a crucial question to the jury. How could a person be in two places at once? They suggested that investigators, pressured to solve a high-profile case, had conveniently dismissed anyone who didn't fit their preconceived narrative. They pointed out that Christine's life had other complexities, other people who might have had a motive. Was it a robbery gone wrong? A disgruntled acquaintance? The defense argued that the police simply didn't look hard enough. The jury was left to sift through a mountain of conflicting testimony and circumstantial evidence. On one hand, there was the undeniable and toxic history between the two women. On the other, a seemingly ironclad alibi, and a complete lack of direct physical proof. They had to decide, was Rebecca a cold, calculated killer who meticulously planned a murder and its cover-up? Or was she the unfortunate victim of a biased investigation, a convenient scapegoat for a crime she didn't commit? After days of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict. The air in the courtroom was thick with anticipation. Rebecca Zinnes stood, her face pale, as the foreman read the words, "Not guilty." Gasps echoed through the gallery. Christine's family was devastated, inconsolable. Rebecca and her supporters were overcome with relief. But the verdict didn't bring closure. Instead, it cast an even longer shadow of doubt over the case. If Rebecca didn't do it, then who did? A killer was still at large. The acquittal left the community deeply divided. Some were convinced that a murderer had just walked free, that the justice system had failed Christine Schultz. They believed Rebecca had gotten away with it, her alibi a clever fabrication. Others were equally convinced of her innocence, believing she was a woman wrongly accused, whose life had been ruined by a rush to judgment. They pointed to the lack of evidence as proof that the state never had a solid case to begin with. To this day, the murder of Christine Schultz remains officially unsolved. The case file is open, but cold. The central questions that plagued the investigation from the start are still unanswered. What really happened inside that duplex on that fateful night? Was Rebecca's alibi genuine, or was it the product of careful planning and deception? If she was truly innocent, who had the motive and opportunity to kill Christine? And could the real killer have been overlooked while all eyes were on the woman next door? The wall that once separated Christine Schultz and Rebecca Zinta now stands as a silent monument to a tragedy that tore a community apart. It's a physical reminder of a story where the truth proved more elusive than anyone could have imagined. Two women, two conflicting stories, and one murder that continues to be a dark, unanswered question in the heart of Wisconsin. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating and mysterious cases. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned. Imagine this. It's 2 in the morning in Bakersfield, California. The city is asleep, but not everyone. Inside a sprawling, dimly lit warehouse on the outskirts of town, one man is just starting his shift. His name is Frank, a 62-year-old janitor. A man who, by all accounts, was quiet, kept to himself, and just wanted to finish his work and go home. But on one fateful night, Frank saw something he wasn't supposed to see. And what he saw would plunge him into a mystery that still haunts this small California city. Frank had been working at the Bakersfield logistics warehouse for over a decade. He knew its every corner, every creak of the floorboards, every shadow that danced on the walls under the flickering fluorescent lights. It was a mundane job, but it was honest work. His routine was always the same. Clock in, grab his cart, and start his rounds. Section A, then B, then C. But tonight, something felt different. An unusual silence hung in the air, heavier than the usual late-night quiet. He noticed a single black sedan parked in a restricted area near loading bay 7, a place usually deserted at this hour. He didn't think much of it at first. Maybe a manager working late. He shrugged and continued his work. As he mopped the floors in the administrative wing, he overheard voices. Hushed but tense. They were coming from the main supervisor's office, a room that should have been locked and empty. Curiosity got the better of him. Frank was not a nosy person, but the feeling of unease was growing stronger. He quietly pushed his cart closer, pretending to be cleaning the hallway. The voices became clearer. He heard a name he recognized, Mr. Thompson, the warehouse's general manager. But the other voice was unfamiliar, cold and menacing. They were arguing about a shipment, a special shipment that wasn't on any official manifest. Frank's heart started to pound. He heard words like untraceable and high value. He peeked through the blinds of the office window. He saw Mr. Thompson, looking pale and scared. Across from him stood a tall, imposing figure in a dark suit. The man's face was obscured by shadows, but his presence filled the room with a palpable sense of danger. Frank knew, right then and there, that he had stumbled upon something serious. This wasn't just a late-night meeting. This was something illegal, something dangerous. He quickly backed away, his mind racing. Should he call the police? What could he even tell them? That he overheard a weird conversation? He decided the best thing to do was to finish his shift and get out of there. Pretend he saw nothing, heard nothing. He tried to focus on his work, but his hands were shaking. Every sound in the vast, empty warehouse made him jump. The scrape of his own mop, the hum of the ventilation, everything seemed amplified. He just wanted the night to be over. As he made his way toward loading bay 7, where he had seen the sedan, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Two men, dressed in dark work clothes, were loading unmarked wooden crates onto a large, unmarked truck. The same tall man from the office was overseeing the operation. Frank hid behind a stack of pallets, his heart hammering against his ribs. He could see the strain on the men's faces as they lifted the heavy crates. What was in them? He didn't want to know. He just knew he had to get out. He tried to slip away unnoticed, but in his haste, he knocked over a metal bucket. The clang echoed through the cavernous space like a gunshot. Everything stopped. The men turned their heads in his direction. The tall man's gaze locked onto the spot where Frank was hiding. There was no mistaking it. He had been seen. Panic seized him. Frank dropped everything and ran. He didn't look back. He just ran for his life, his janitor's uniform flapping behind him. He burst through an emergency exit and didn't stop running until the warehouse was just a dark silhouette against the pre-dawn sky. Frank went straight home, locked his doors, and sat in the dark, trembling. He didn't call the police. Who would believe a janitor's frantic story? He was terrified. The next day, he called in sick. And the day after that, he told his wife he had the flu, but she knew something was deeply wrong. He was jumpy, constantly looking over his shoulder. He stopped answering the phone. He was a prisoner in his own home, haunted by what he had witnessed. A week later, Frank's wife convinced him to go to the police. He was hesitant, scared, but he knew he couldn't live like this. He walked into the Bakersfield police station and told his story to a detective named Miller. He told him everything: the car, the voices, the crates, the tall man in the suit. Detective Miller listened patiently, taking notes. But Frank could see the skepticism in his eyes. There was no evidence, no illegal shipment on record. Mr. Thompson, the manager, denied any late-night meeting. The security footage from that night? It was mysteriously corrupted. The file for that specific time frame was just gone. To the police, Frank's story sounded like the ramblings of an old man with an overactive imagination. They logged his statement, but with no evidence, there was nothing they could do. They told him they'd look into it, a polite dismissal. Frank left the station feeling more alone and terrified than ever. The system he thought would protect him had failed. Now, not only did he know their secret, but they knew that he knew. And he had just told the police. Life became a living nightmare for Frank. Cars would slow down as they passed his house. He would hear clicks on his phone line. He felt like he was being watched every second of every day. He lost his job at the warehouse for his unexplained absence. He and his wife were living on their meager savings, but the financial strain was nothing compared to the psychological terror. Frank became a ghost of his former self, a man consumed by fear. His wife watched helplessly as the kind, quiet man she married withered away. Then, 2 months after that fateful night, the story takes another dark turn. A fire broke out at the Bakersfield logistics warehouse. It wasn't a small fire. It was a massive inferno that engulfed the entire structure, turning it into a pile of twisted metal and ash. The official cause was listed as an electrical fault, a tragic accident. But for Frank, and for Detective Miller, who had never completely dismissed Frank's story, it felt like something far more sinister. It felt like a cleansing, a way to erase any and all remaining evidence of what happened in Loading Bay 7. The fire was the final nail in the coffin for the official investigation. With the warehouse gone, there was nothing left to investigate. The case of the janitor who saw too much was unofficially closed. Frank was now safe, in a way. The people he feared were gone. Their operations literally turned to dust. But he was also broken. He never fully recovered from the paranoia and fear. He lived out the rest of his days as a recluse, forever looking over his shoulder, a man haunted by the shadows he saw in that warehouse. So what really happened that night? What was in those crates? Who was the tall man in the suit? These are questions that remain unanswered. The Bakersfield warehouse mystery, as it's sometimes called by local crime enthusiasts, has become a piece of local folklore. A cautionary tale about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some believe it was a drug smuggling operation. Others whisper about illegal arms dealing. Some even have wilder theories about government secrets. Without evidence, all we have is speculation. The only person who knew the truth was Frank, a simple janitor who, for one night, found himself at the center of a dangerous conspiracy. His story is a chilling reminder that sometimes, the most terrifying monsters aren't ghosts or ghouls, but people who operate in the shadows, willing to do whatever it takes to protect their secrets. Frank wasn't a hero. He was just an ordinary man caught in an extraordinary and terrifying situation. He didn't seek out trouble, but it found him in the quiet solitude of his late-night shift. The story of Frank the janitor is a tragic one. It's about the powerlessness of the common person against organized, ruthless forces. It's about how quickly a normal life can be turned upside down. And it's about a mystery that was deliberately buried, first by corrupted files, and then by fire and ash. The Bakersfield warehouse stands no more, and Frank is no longer with us. But his story lingers, a ghostly whisper in the city's history. A reminder to us all to think about what could be happening right under our noses in the quiet, forgotten corners of our own towns. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more unsolved mysteries. Let us know in the comments what you think was in those crates. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe. Thanks for watching once again. Can't wait to share the next true crime story from somewhere else in the world. Stay tuned. A single set of footprints in the fresh morning snow, leading to a place of no return. This is the chilling start to one of Ontario's most baffling mysteries, a crime scene that seemed to appear out of thin air, leaving behind only questions and a profound sense of loss. There were no witnesses, no suspects, and no apparent motive. Just a trail that stopped cold, as if the person who made it simply vanished into the dawn. Welcome to a story that defies easy answers, a puzzle where every piece seems to lead to another locked door. Imagine a quiet, sleepy town in rural Ontario, the kind of place where everyone knows their neighbors and serious crime is something you only see on television. Winter has draped the landscape in a thick, pristine blanket of white. On a bitterly cold morning, as the first rays of sunlight stretch across the frozen fields, a local resident out for an early walk stumbles upon a scene that will haunt the community for years to come. There, in the middle of a vast, open field, lies a body. The snow around it is undisturbed, save for one single set of footprints leading directly to the spot. But here's the part that sends a shiver down the spine of even the most seasoned investigators. There are no other tracks. No footprints leading away. No signs of a struggle. No vehicle tracks nearby. Nothing to suggest another person was ever there. It was as if the victim had walked to that exact spot. And then what? The footprints were the only clue, a silent testament to a final journey. The victim was identified as Evelyn Reed, a beloved local librarian in her late 40s. Evelyn was known for her quiet nature, her love of books, and her gentle smile. She lived a simple, unassuming life. Who would want to harm her? The question echoed through the town's small cafes and community halls. Friends and family were devastated, completely blindsided. They described her as someone with no enemies, a person who found joy in the simple things. Her sudden and inexplicable death left a void that felt impossible to fill. Investigators from the Ontario Provincial Police were called in, and they were immediately stumped. The autopsy revealed the cause of death was not from the cold. It was a homicide. But how? How could a killer commit such an act and then leave the scene without leaving a single trace in the freshly fallen snow? The laws of physics seemed to have been suspended on that cold winter morning. Detectives worked tirelessly, exploring every conceivable theory. Was the killer wearing special shoes that left no imprints? Did they fly away using some kind of device? Was there an accomplice who carefully covered their tracks? Each hypothesis was more far-fetched than the last. They interviewed hundreds of people, retraced Evelyn's last known movements, and scoured her life for any hidden conflicts or secret relationships. They found nothing. Evelyn's life was an open book, just like the ones she so dearly loved. The only clue remained those solitary footprints. Forensic experts analyzed them meticulously. They determined the size and type of boot, the approximate weight and stride of the person who wore them. And in a heartbreaking twist, they confirmed the footprints belonged to Evelyn Reed herself. She had walked to her own death, but she didn't do it alone. The evidence on her body proved someone else was there. A ghost in the snow. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The case grew colder, just like the Ontario winter that had set the stage for the tragedy. The media dubbed it the Phantom of the Snow, a fitting name for a killer who seemed to be invisible. Public speculation ran wild. Was it a random act of violence? A carefully planned execution by a criminal mastermind? Or something else entirely? Something that stretched the boundaries of belief? The police considered the possibility that the killer had approached from a different direction, perhaps from the nearby woods, and then meticulously erased their own tracks as they retreated. This would require an incredible amount of precision and planning, suggesting a killer who was both patient and cunning. They searched the woods inch by inch, but found nothing. No broken branches, no disturbed earth beneath the snow, no discarded evidence. It was a dead end. Another theory was that the killer had walked in Evelyn's exact footsteps, stepping perfectly into her prints to mask their own. This, too, seemed almost impossible. To do so in the dark, over a considerable distance, without a single misstep, would be a feat of incredible skill and balance. It sounded more like a scene from a spy movie than a real-life crime in rural Ontario. Yet, as impossible as it seemed, investigators couldn't rule it out. The emotional toll on Evelyn's family and the community was immense. The lack of answers was a special kind of torture. How do you mourn someone when their death is shrouded in such an impossible mystery? How do you find peace when justice seems so far out of reach? The single set of footprints became a symbol of their grief, a lonely path that ended in darkness, with no way to understand the journey. Let's pause and consider the psychological profile of such a killer. To commit a murder and then take the time to execute such a flawless escape plan suggests a person who is highly intelligent, patient, and devoid of empathy. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was calculated. The act of leaving only the victim's footprints could be seen as a taunt, a message to the police and the world. You can't catch me. I am smarter than you. This level of arrogance points to a narcissistic personality, someone who derives a thrill from their own perceived brilliance. Years passed. The file on Evelyn Reed's case remained open, but active leads had long since dried up. The story became a local legend, a chilling tale told on dark winter nights. New detectives would occasionally pull the file, hoping a fresh pair of eyes might see something their predecessors missed. But the mystery remained locked in time, frozen like the landscape on that fateful morning. The footprints at dawn were the beginning and the end of the story. But then, nearly a decade later, a breakthrough came from the most unexpected place. A deathbed confession. An elderly man in a long-term care facility hundreds of kilometers away, suffering from a terminal illness, began to speak of a crime he had carried out years ago. His nurse, initially skeptical, listened as he recounted details that had never been released to the public. He spoke of a woman, a field, and a perfect blanket of snow. The man's name was Arthur Bennett, a retired engineer with a genius-level IQ. He had no prior criminal record. He was a quiet, solitary man, much like Evelyn. His confession was chilling in its clarity and lack of remorse. He explained how he had done it. It wasn't supernatural, nor was it as complex as the police had imagined. It was a plan born of a brilliant and twisted mind. Arthur revealed that he had been in the area for a completely unrelated reason on the day of the murder. He had developed a personal, one-sided obsession with Evelyn after a brief, chance encounter at the library months earlier. He stalked her for weeks, learning her routines. He knew she enjoyed early morning walks, especially after a fresh snowfall. His method was ingeniously simple. He constructed a lightweight, long-armed device. On the morning of the crime, he hid in the tree line bordering the field. When Evelyn began her walk, he approached her. After he committed the horrible act, he used his custom-made device. It was essentially a long pole with a mechanism on the end. While walking backward, away from the scene, he used the device to meticulously scoop up snow and fill in his own footprints, smoothing the surface over as he went. He retreated all the way back to the woods, leaving the field looking pristine and untouched, except for Evelyn's solitary path. It was a slow, painstaking process that took over an hour. He knew the cold, and the early hour meant he was unlikely to be disturbed. He had practiced the technique for months in his own backyard. His engineering background gave him the knowledge to build the device, and his psychopathic nature gave him the cold-blooded patience to execute his plan flawlessly. The confession brought a sense of closure, but it was a bitter one. Arthur Bennett died just days after revealing his secret, cheating the justice system of the chance to hold him accountable in a court of law. For Evelyn's family and the community, the truth was both a relief and a source of fresh pain. The phantom had a name and a face, but he was gone. The case of the last footprints at dawn serves as a chilling reminder that the most perplexing mysteries often have logical, albeit disturbing, explanations. It highlights the terrifying intersection of intelligence and malice. A brilliant mind, when twisted toward evil, can devise plans that seem to defy reality itself. It's a story of a life cut short, a community shaken to its core, and a puzzle that took a decade to solve, not by a brilliant detective, but by the fading conscience of a dying killer. The image of those lone footprints in the snow remains a powerful symbol. It represents vulnerability, the final moments of a life, and a mystery that captured and terrified a nation. It reminds us that even in the quietest places, darkness can be waiting, and sometimes, the only evidence it leaves behind is a question mark written in the snow. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of Ontario's most haunting cases. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into unforgettable mysteries. Stay safe and always look out for one another.